Hi guys, this is Randy35 from YouTube, and today I'm going to show you some flatbows that I made. I have two flatbows here. They're both birch. They're made from the same piece of birch actually. And I've made them for a friend of mine and his wife. So my friend is really big and has a really long draw length. His wife is a bit smaller and a bit shorter. So this first bow, they're both made with, the handle lamination is made from Osage Orange, which I had left over from my Osage longbow. But otherwise, it's all birch here. So this bow is, if I remember correctly, 66 inches knock to knock, and it draws 45 pounds at 29 inches because he has a bit of a longer draw than I do, so it's about here, not here. Which means I had to get, and okay, so yeah. This other bow is a bit shorter. I think it's 50, let me think it's a foot. 54 inches knock to knock. And this one draws 25 pounds at 26 inches, so, you know, quite a bit shorter. And this is for the wife because she's smaller, obviously. Again, has the Osage laminated handle and the birch limbs. Both the handles and the birch are the same pieces of wood. I just cut them in half, put them on, and so yeah. Again, this was a challenge for me because I actually ran out of wood a bit early on, so I had to make the bows a bit shorter than I intended to for the actual draw length that I needed. So for this bow, this has a 29-inch draw length, and it's about the right size for like a 27 or 28-inch draw length. So I had to tiller it really carefully so that it would take an even strain on the entire length of the limb and not develop any hinges where too much stress could cause it to break at 29 inches. I have both these backed with 2 layers of linen that isn't glued on, and I just have a leather arrow rest there. So, yeah, I think the tiller on these two turned out really well, and so we'll see. This one also was its own unique challenge because I was going for 25 pounds at 26 inches, which means the limbs have to be, since they're wide, to take that much bend because it's short. That means they also have to be really, really thin. And since the strength of the limb is proportional to the square of its width, its thickness, no, sorry, it's not its width, its thickness, this had to be really, really thin to get the desired flexibility. So any minor, I had to be really careful with tillering because any minor difference in width will cause it to hinge or you know, get stuck really easily. So the tiller had to be very careful, especially in the latter stages. And also I had to have, ended up, because of the shape of the width, because it comes out as even width and then it narrows in at the tips, I had to have some interesting thickness changes up for the tips to keep them from bending too much or too little. On this bow actually, I had that, it got broken during the early tillering, like kind of the late rough shaping period, because it got stepped on and I noticed that there was a kind of a weakness on there, so I patched it with some additional, I glued it back on and it worked fine, but just to give it some extra strength I also patched it with extra layers of linen, so that should hold up really nice. And that tip actually doesn't bend much at all, so it's not under that much stress, so it should work fine. Only 2 differences with these bows as opposed to my last bow, and that is I've changed my finish of choice from that polyethylene spray, it was polyethylene, to Tru-oil, which I got recommended from a bowyer friend of mine, and it works awesome, makes the bows look beautiful, so I highly recommend it. Especially on bows that you take down to a really nice finish, like a 400 grit. Also, I started using the Loctite 2, which I've been using, is a great wood and it works great for wood, and I've had it frequently have the wood fail before the wood glue bond will fail. But it doesn't finish up too nice, and it does sometimes be I don't know how you say it, like it'll pull apart a bit. So especially on backings. And again on the advice of a buddy friend of mine, I tried Smith & Company's Oak and Teak 2-part epoxy and the Smith & Company's penetrating clear epoxy sealer, and they both work really well. I use the epoxy sealer to put backings on and fix things with sinew, and then I use the 2-part epoxy, the Oak and Teak, to really get in and glue stuff together, and I've never had it come apart. It also sands really well, even better than the Loctite does. And when you put the finish on, it turns invisible. You can't even see it really. So I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but you got the line there, the glue line there. And even if you have a bit left over, it's clear. It's completely invisible. So I mean, unless you're looking for it, it just looks like there's nothing there. And it comes really easily, soaks through the finish or the backing, and lets that come on really well. And then, as I said, I just finished it with about 6 coats of Tru-oil, which dries in about 2 hours and looks great. I mean, 2 hours each coat. Yeah, so let me shoot these for you, and I'll show you the tiller and how they shoot. Keep in mind, these arrows I made for my 53-pound bow, so they're spined for like a 55-pound bow or so. So they work great for my 50-pound bow. They work okay for this bow, but for this bow, the accuracy is terrible because they simply don't paradox the right way. But if you had correctly spined arrows, that wouldn't be a problem. So with accuracy on these two is not going to be as great with these arrows in particular. Yeah, so let's get shooting. Alright, so just so you can see the tiller here a little bit, draw it to there, so it's 26 inches, or yeah, 26. So let me get a couple test shots off with this. And again, my accuracy I'm expecting to be horrible because these arrows are not spined for a 25-pound bow. But we'll see what happens. I'm a terrible archer, by the way. On this I'm using just a Dacron string, something I made. Alright, my camera seems to be acting up, so I'm going to have to do this quick. This is the longer one, the longer of the 2 flat bows. It is tillered for 45 pounds at 29 inches, so that's a tiny bit longer than my draw length, and I'm not going to be able to shoot it at full draw because my arrows are only 28 inches. But I can show you the draw length just drawn dry, and so you can see the tiller on that. So 29 inches is a bit longer than I normally draw, but alright, there you go. And sorry about the sudden cut. I took the entire video and then realized that my camera doesn't like to be on for more than about a minute at a time, so it shut off automatically, so you didn't get to see any of the shooting. So I'm just going to re-report that part. Again, note this isn't full drying length because these arrows are only for 28 inches long because they're my arrows, and I only draw 28 inches. But here you go. And this arrow was a lot more accurate than the other one because it's much closer to the actual draw length the arrows are designed for with this spine. Also note that both this bow and the other flat bow both have an unbraced 1-inch deflex at the tips, so not perfectly straight, but pretty good.